You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. I'm the host tonight, Adam. I know I only spoke about a couple of words last week, and I do apologise. I had to run out halfway through the pod, so that's on me, guys. I do apologise. But we're here today to discuss the up-and-coming home fixture against Manchester United, which is going to be an interesting affair to see them back at the Stadium of Light. But joining me to discuss this, we have Kev and we have Robin. Robin, how are we doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. And obviously, unlike you, I've not got the runs today, so I won't be disappearing.
Legit. I was trying to keep that secret, but the secret's out.
Well, you had to say you run out, and it just it was your leg, mate, that you ran out of. But
hey, well, swings and roundabouts. Kev, likewise, how are you today without trying to, laugh yourself?
I'm all good, mate. Other than talking about your bowel movements, mate, my day's been fine. Yeah. What a start to the pod. Sorry to our listeners, but yeah, basically Adam couldn't hold it in any longer. So exactly. Yeah, you ended up with me and Robin covering for him.
Exactly. You would have thought Robin would have had the worst, but no, it was made that week, so fair enough.
I mean, because I've got not much of a bowel left anymore. Yeah.
Tremendous, lads, tremendous. Well, let's get into the nitty-gritty straight away. Obviously, we're taking on Man United, who have been confirmed to playing in the Champions League as of next year. I think I said in the past that their little reset of last year, finishing as low as they did, helped them concentrate this year to go, right, we have a point to prove. We are Man United for a reason. And that was their objective, I think, this year, to get into the Champions League. And they've done that successfully. Yeah, Robin?
I've just got to stop there. I don't know. I'm hoping Kev backs me up on this. But they were going to be in the same position as Tottenham were until they got rid of Amorim.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't about resetting and seeing what they could do and be in the Champions League. Obviously, they want to be in the Champions League. It's Man United. But at the end of the day, they were absolute cannon fodder until Carrick came in.
He's spot on. Never did I ever think I would say Carrick's done a good job for someone. Obviously, after the Borough thing. But no, I think he's done wonderful for them, and it speaks volumes in the fact that they've essentially said that he's probably there next season. Mm-hmm. This is a manager that's kind of done okay, but a club like Manchester United and such like normally demand a name, someone who's proven at a level. Let's be honest, before hitting United, Carrick wasn't really proven at a level of that stature. But yeah, he's done well. They're currently, I believe, third in the table, and that's them secure. They're not going to obviously hit the top, but they're also not going to drop out of the Champions League spot. So yeah, I think fair play to them. You do wonder which way is that going to set this game, though. Are they now on the beach thinking, right, we've done what we need to do, let's preserve players for their World Cup fixtures? Because those conversations will have started happening with parent clubs. I'm sure you'd both agree with that. So, do we start seeing a Man United side that are a little bit laid back? Or are they going to give it their all?
Indeed, and that ties nicely with one of the main questions I was going to put to yourselves in regards to how they were going to form up and things like that, because obviously one of the worries for them was last week Šeško went off with a hobble, so they didn't know if he was fully fit. There's been rumours of Cunha's had permission from Man United and Brazil to then not play for the rest of the season, to rest him, as you said there, Kev, effectively for the World Cup, because Brazil obviously don't want to lose any more people than they already have this for the World Cup. So it's things like that. Those discussions are being held. Do we see them fielding a strong 11 just to go let's prove a point, or do we see the likes of the younger ones coming through, likes of Manu? Obviously, he hasn't fully started as yet, but Carrick's rewarding him a lot more than other managers have, if that makes sense.
I mean, wow. Adam, I don't think you've been paying attention to what Man United's been doing, but since Carrick's come in, Manu's been an integral part of that team. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, there was some kind of fallout with Amarin. You know, he burst on the scene, then Amarin come in and just didn't fancy him. Carrick's brought him back in, and like I say, he's been absolutely integral in that team and the way they've gone forward. I mean, yeah, there was the thing about Cunha that they've done an agreement with the Brazilian Football Federation to not play him anymore. But you look at their squad, and realistically, they've got some strength in depth there anyway. So they are going to put out a good team regardless. I mean, there's all kinds of rumours going around. You know, obviously there's, talk of Ahmad possibly coming back and putting in a bid in for him. Do we want to go back there, or we want to go forward with who we've got with obviously Angulo, Talbi, etc. You know, there's a lot of things going on there. I mean, they are guaranteed Champions League. That's settled now. It's a case of whether or not they finish sort of like third or fourth, basically. You know, it's a few quid in it, but it's not much, so to speak. You know, in realistic terms, what they are going to earn from the Champions League next season, you know, a couple of million quid to finish a place higher in the Premier League doesn't really matter too much. So I'm sort of expecting and hoping as well that they might look at playing some of the younger players, the likes of Heaven in defence and stuff, and things like that. Maybe they might give Luke Shaw a rest because obviously, you know, he could do a job for England in the World Cup. And I think for Michael Carrick as well, if the club have agreed with Brazil that Cunha won't feature, then maybe with Luke Shaw's injury record and the fact that he's probably the best left back we've got in the country, when he's fully fit, they might give him a bit of a rest as well. So it could be a highly changed Man United team. However, you know, we are having to make changes quite clearly because of Ballard, which I know you want to raise that as well. So I'll let you bring that up in a bit with Kev probably. So yeah, I mean it's going to be one of them that I think when that team sheet's announced at 1:45, there's going to be a few eyebrows raised.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, Carrick, we'll start with the Mainu thing. Yeah, has given the kid at least a life. They're talking about new contracts and all sorts with him now. So I think that's one thing for me that, yeah, I think Carrick wants him to feature and wants to use him as much as possible. So potentially he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. If he's not on the starting lineup, he's always brought on as an impact sub, and in a few occasions recently, he's probably been a game changer for them. I'd say the player that is out of favour with Carrick is actually Ahmad, strangely. When we think he's, this unbelievable talent, and United don't see it, but that's because they've obviously got Cunha in the same spot. So, yeah, there's sort of a different level between the two of them, isn't there? So, yeah, if Cunha is rested, then that probably brings Ahmad into the sort of starting lineup. One of the things I saw quite interesting from Carrick's presser was he was asked about the famous Sunderland Man City result, I believe it was, that cost, but whatever, I can't remember the exact game it was. Robin, this is your Wikipedia. This is.
I actually do remember this. We played United because Rooney had a real exception to this. we were playing United. They actually beat us that last game of the season, and we were holding them and that. But when City scored, and this is probably a thing to some of our younger listeners, that at the time United were the team that won absolutely everything. And when City scored, there was a massive roar went up in the stadium because we got wind of City scoring, and it meant that United weren't going to win the title. And I know, Rooney for one, held a grudge against us, forever sort of thing because of it. So yeah, I mean, there is a bit of history there that come the last game of the season. I know this isn't the last game of the season, but it's close to it. That obviously United have this thing now that they want to beat us every single time because of us celebrating City winning the league, basically.
And that's what Carrick said in his presser, was basically he hasn't forgotten that moment. Well, yeah, we'll see. Like I say, I think it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, indeed.
For us, it's there's still stuff to play for, even if it is just finishing above the unwashed. But I do feel we are in for a very, very tough 3 games coming up.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be no mean easy wins, shall we say, because obviously the Premier League's no easy wins given, and it's just one of those where we want to finish as high as we can. I believe results and games pending. I know Robin still has his lovely highlights for Europe, and I believe we can still possibly do it at a push, depending on things like that. But we've also discussed our thoughts on that, so we're not going to guide us into that too much. But this is where, Robin, thank you very much for bringing it up in your little bit there in regards to Ballard's red card. That was given to him, obviously, for the hair pull. I was there for that little bit before, obviously, I disappeared. Stupid red card for me. Never, I don't agree with it. But the law is the law. The club this week openly admitted, saying that they were going to challenge it and appeal it. From what I understand, they've supplied as much evidence and as much information as they can to highlight how much this is an issue, not just with our game, with the whole entirety of the Premier League, where some are letting go, i.e. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was let go, nothing was punished. And you then look at other ones where it has been classed as a red card. It's one of those balances where answer the critics, give us the answer we need. Because to me personally, as a defender, he was leaning far back into it and Ballard's just trying to grab some shirt. That is my honest opinion on it. Reggie said, obviously, the appeals came back and it's been upheld. So Ballard is out for effectively now the entirety of the season. We're not going to have him. I want your guys' opinion on it. Should the FA have looked at it and went, you know what? It was not violent conduct at all. It's a 1-game ban. Or do we go with the flow?
Kev, do you want to take it or do you want me to?
I mean, for me, they are never going to overturn it. Robin said this in the review. Because of the decision they made, they're not going to then undermine themselves. And in the definition of violent conduct, hair pulling is an offence. For me, the club have started the conversation. Every other team in the division at the end of the season will enter the forum for probably assessing the rules. So I think that's what Regis has essentially said: is the law is the law. However, the sort of like the rules are a bit grey, and that's where the problem lies. A violent hair pull is that sort of jerk in motion. It's pulling the player to cause something to happen, i.e. pull them over, etc. The problem we've got, when you look at the whole thing, Ballard does pull his hair. Albeit unintentionally, he does pull it. 3 strands of dreads. But this is where, we went on about this in the Wolves review. Is it going to turn into a position where the men's game says, right, your hair gets tied up? And if it's down and gets caught, tough. It's not going to be classed as a violent offence. because you've chosen to wear your hair down, thinking you're on the beach in Sydney. And yeah, that's where the grey area for me will be. The rule book will change where it will be hair will be up if it'll end up like we've said previously, the NFL, if it's shoulder length or longer, it becomes part of the jersey in NFL terminology, or in our terminology, it becomes part of your clothing, parts of the shirt. Because pulling the sleeve of someone's shirt isn't violent conduct. So if hair starts becoming long, it becomes part of the shirt. It won't become an offence. It's an absolute headache. But yeah, for me, we knew the appeal was never going to get upheld. It was never going to happen in terms of getting our way, purely because, like I say, they don't want to look like they got it wrong on the day. Because if they admit they got it wrong on the day, the result should change. But they're not going to go back and change the result of a game.
Yeah. I'll just come in now. By the rule book, they didn't get it wrong on the day. They got it perfectly right. However, the rule's wrong. I don't understand how, in the women's game, you have to have your hair tied up.
Mm-hmm.
But in the men's game, you don't. We play under the same rules. And I think that's something that the FA have neglected with updating the rules. And I think that's the major issue. I think the fact that if they overturn that, they'd be absolutely embarrassed. I mean, when you look at the cards for it this season, obviously Michael Keane, he got a red against Tully, which was a proper hair pull. That was violent conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had obviously Martinez at Man United, who brushed the hair, and it was given a red, which it shouldn't have been. Then we've got Daniel Calvert-Lewin against Cucurella, where he did actually tug the hair, and it wasn't given as a red.
And was reviewed by VAR on the day, wasn't it?
It was reviewed, yeah. Well, so was the Martinez one. The Martinez was given as it was a review. It wasn't called by the referee at the time. It was the VAR getting involved. And then obviously the Ballard incident. So obviously it's that big thing of the inconsistency of VAR getting involved. But it's just the fact that they've got a rule saying that in the women's game your hair has to be tied up, and yet the men's game they're not implementing that rule, which is wrong. It's inherently wrong that you can have we play under the same rules, and this is the issue. So why wasn't it brought to the attention? Well, his hair's not tied up, and this is the thing. And in the women's game, it has to be tied up at a certain height as well. It can't be tied up at the lower point of the head. It has to be tied up high so that it's not an issue. And obviously, like Kev said, once if the hair's down, it's part of the shirt, it's part of the jersey.
Yeah.
So this is something that the FA will look at in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, I still find it so frustrating that Tolu went down grabbing his hair to the referee that he had his hair pulled, purposely trying to get a player sent off, which is unsportsmanlike conduct, and he's just got away with it scot-free.
Yeah.
He's the player that should have been sanctioned. The fact that at the time, the referee and the linesman who had a clear view of it didn't even think it was a foul. You had two players where, the attacker's thrown his arms behind him, grabbing hold of Ballard, pushing him. Ballard's clearly trying to grab his shirt, which again is against the rules, but it happens now. It's a contact sport. His head wasn't jerked back. He didn't go back in any unnatural movement whatsoever. He just, acted purely to get the player sent off. And I find that despicable, which I said at the time. But yeah, getting back to the point, Ballard's season's finished. Obviously they're going to keep him within the team rather than let him go on a holiday early. They're going to keep him there and work on next season, which is great. Because obviously there's going to be rumours of Ballard going and that because he's had such a good season. So we're looking at keeping these players that have impacted our season in a positive way. And I think for that's what we need to look at more than anything.
Indeed. Yeah, perfect. Let's talk in regards to our team of who we think will be coming into the fold. As we discussed a few weeks back, by the sounds of it, Bertrand Traore is due back, and Gulo is due back, and obviously Jocelyn is due back as well. Obviously, we saw when we played the reverse leg at Old Trafford, yes, we got beat 2-0, but Traore caused a lot of issues when we were down there. Do we think he could possibly get a start again to see if he could do the same thing?
No, to me, I think, you're not going to bring someone straight in who's been out for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the interesting to me who he puts in defence. Is Hume going to come in as right back and maybe Mukiele go into the middle? Is he going to keep Mukiele as right back and bring maybe Gertruda in to the middle because he can play central defence as well? Are we going to stick with Ronaldo, or do we want to give Sirkin a bit of time? It's one of those. I mean, Dennis is out of contract in the summer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they might be trying to convince him he's got a future in the team because, we brought Ronaldo in last summer, which I think was a great move, but quite clearly he's getting towards the end of his career. He's had a few games where he's not been at the best. I know Kev's obviously mentioned it a few times. So what we got to look at is if we don't fancy Sirkin and think he's good enough to play at that level, then we've got to be looking at in the summer bringing in a good quality left back as well.
Yeah.
Because Ronaldo's been good, and I think he's got another year on. I think he signed a 2-year deal when he came in the summer. But obviously, we still need a quality backup, which we don't seem to have because, unfortunately for Dennis, whenever Ronaldo's got an injury or suspension, Dennis has seemed to be out as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, bringing Sirkin into the fold would be a shout. Like you say, even if it's just to give him a few games to, I would say, sharpen himself up, match fitness and all that. But like you say, it's the worry is when you start doing that, are you saying our season's done?
Mm-hmm.
You start bringing the unders into the fold, you start bringing players in that aren't Premier League ready, so to speak, and very quickly it can look like you gave up.
Yeah.
So that's not a knock on Sirkin. I think he can do a job at this level.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think whilst Ronaldo is a bit like Bambi at times, he is also better at other things. They bring something to each other's games. I mean, for a player that's aging, his pace is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And there's things like that he can bring. And United are a pacey team. And Buemo's quick,
Yep.
so you need people that can track back quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's that sort of thing. For me, your back line this weekend's probably going to be Hume, Alderete, Mukiele, and Reynaldo, because that's probably as good as it's going to get. Like you say, or you drop Sirkin into the mix, but then you bring in, at that point, Reynaldo off. Does Luke go on? For me, they did obviously do that briefly, but yeah, it's a difficult one. For me, it's everyone still deserves their spot in the squad, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to start dropping players that we need, if that makes sense.
Yeah, indeed. And Regis has pretty much touched on it as well, hasn't he, really, in regards to there's still something to play for this season. There's still one just to get higher up in the table, and there's certain other things to play for. In regards to just before we touch on to like predictions and things like that, the one thing I did want to bring, which I'm sure everybody's seen, it went massively on social media and everyone is loving it, is the fact being that the club changed the black cat to a black dog to support mental health awareness. And it's fair to say it's got the attraction not just of the UK, it's gone even further afield, I believe. And that's just a testament for the club to go, we recognise there's something important here. We are here to support the whole entirety of the city. And I believe Rajiv was asked about that today as well. And he said, we're all in it together, effectively. And if anybody needs to talk, the club's here effectively, and there is other outlets. Obviously, we've had our own mental health issues in the past, obviously, with an open book for everybody else. But lads, that is a big, bold statement from the club to do something like that, to what's synonymous as the black cat.
I mean, to me, it's absolutely massive. For them to do that and not say anything at all about it, just put it up and get people talking about it.
Exactly why they did it, 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, to give a bit of insight to people that have never suffered with depression, those that have suffered with it, the black dog is a big thing. I mean, I've seen numerous people at times, on social media, so profile picture, they'll just do a black square or they'll put a picture of a black Labrador up or something like that. And, for those that know, it gets a reaction, and that's the thing. It's sort of it to get it to people that maybe not know. It's a way of saying that I don't want to say I'm struggling, but I'm struggling, lads. Because we all know that men's mental health has been a taboo subject for quite a long time, and I think that the fact that it's now being spoken about is massive, and I think the way they've done it is absolute genius. Whoever was behind it realistically should be up for an award next year, for a community service award, because I mean Sunderland itself has one of the highest suicide rates of men in the country.
Yeah,
and I do feel that it's just genius by the club to do this. It shows how much in tune they are with the community, with the area, and whoever was behind this, round of applause to them. And I do think that, I mean, look, we can't start a movement at the match on Saturday or something like that, but I think that, if everyone would stand up and give a round of applause at a certain point, it would be absolutely amazing. Because whoever it was that did this, and for all the people that have suffered, I think it just says to them that, look, we're here for you. Talk about it.
indeed, mate. Indeed, you've hit the nail on the head. Kev, do you want to shed your thoughts on it?
I mean, Robin summed it up beautifully there, to be honest with you. That's exactly why the club did it, though. The club did it in a let's do this in a very subtle, very discreet way, because what will happen is the pictures will get out there exactly like they did. One person takes a picture and goes, is this real? And it gets people talking. And that's that's the whole undertone. The whole underlying thing is get people talking. Because that's the hardest thing when you're going through depression. It hides in different ways with people. Some people they'll act normal, they'll go on with their merry ways, they'll put a smile on, and you might not even know it's going on. And there's the opposite side of it where people go quiet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about getting people talking. And I think fair play. I know we're here to talk about the football, but anyone, home or away, that turns up at the ground this weekend, you're gonna see it. It's on the side of the club shop, on the roundabout that you see as you drive into the ground. The lads will see it when they come in on the team bus. The away team will see it when they come in on their 42 coaches. Yeah, fair play to marketing. We don't get, in the eyes of some groups, we haven't got much right recently. With the season ticket things that have all circulated and stuff. And I think this is the club's way of saying we might get some things wrong, but we are we are growing in commercial strength, but we haven't forgotten people. You got to remember, we very early on in our journey, Adam, you probably remember when you got Space Northeast in.
Yeah.
Because they were setting up out the Beacon of Light on I think it was was it a Tuesday or a Wednesday night for a cup of tea and a chat for a group of men. And obviously, got to think Andy's Man's Club is a Sunderland-based charity. There's loads of charities out there that support men's mental health. But yeah, the club here very, very discreetly put this out there. And, I'm sure we would all probably say, lads, we're here if people need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
We're not counsellors. We're just three raving idiots that talk about football. But yeah, if people want to have a chat, I'm sure all three of us would put our hands up and say, reach out.
Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head there, mate. You two know, and obviously Chris, I know he's hiding away somewhere in the States. But you guys know that you guys have been there for me in the past when I've needed it most. I did take a hiatus, I think last season, for a couple of months due to certain reasons, one of them being the depression. So I do thank you, Kevin. I do thank you, Robin, for actually supporting me through that time when I needed it at most. So thank you. Let's get some happier things on. Let's get some predictions under the way. Robin, I'm guessing you're going for like a 7,000-0 or something like that.
Not quite, mate. Not quite. It's quite weird because this is quite a weird match to me. Because it's my eldest son's birthday on Saturday. And obviously he'll be at the match anyway. But for the first time, his partner, we have a bit of issue because she's from a Man United family, even though she's from down here, etc. Blah blah blah, and we know that Man United fans don't come from Manchester. Obviously, my grandson, we buy him all Sunderland kits. Obviously, his mum and her side, put him in these horrible Man U kits. But yeah, so she's going to be there at the Stadium of Light as well. My grandson's, he's not even 2 yet, so he's a bit too young to come. But yeah, it's a bit of a tough one because obviously I want to smash them to bits. But I just don't know what team's going to go out there. So for the first time, probably since we've recorded this pod, I'm going to go for a little bit of a safe 2-2.
Fair enough.
I'm going to go for Desmond's, lads.
Fair enough. Go on then, Kev. What's yours?
To be honest, lads, I was thinking one apiece. I think both teams are going to put a little bit behind it, but I do think it's going to probably finish with a bit of a whimper, and that's not for any fault of either side. I think we're knackered. To put it shortly and bluntly, I think our lads they've hit their limit, and I want them to prove me wrong. I would love them to, absolutely stuff Carrick's side, but yeah, I can see this finishing one apiece.
Fair enough.
Actually, Adam, before we move on to your prediction, I just want to say I saw a rumour today because obviously Kev's favourite academy graduate is out of contract in the summer and he's not been given a new contract.
Normal behaviour.
he's been on the bench for a few Premier League games, but there's a rumour going round that he is going to be given his Premier League debut, and I just wanted Kev's thoughts on that.
Absolutely outrageous.
Perfect. No, so just for me to get my little prediction under the way there, I'm thinking it's going to be possibly just a simple 1-0 to us. I just think we might be able to surprise Man United at home and just wind up Carrick even more after the last time he came up and was embarrassed that he didn't win the title. So perfect. I think we'll draw it to an end there, boys. Thank you everyone for listening in. It does mean a lot. And as we said before, if you do feel like you need to talk to us, please do so.
Sorry, one more thing before we wrap it up. Obviously, it's the end of season sale at the club shop. So, obviously, if you want to go and spend more money, obviously, I've spent between £2,000 and £3,000 this season just on merchandise alone. So, I'm not prepared to spend any more whatsoever. But for any of you that want an end of season bargain, it's online. Get in the club shop before the match on Saturday. Let's empty the shop out of everything they've got, because it means that come next season, when the kits are released, they buy more in so nobody misses out.
Indeed. Nicely put there, Robin, or we'll just wait outside with your credit card. But no, lads, thank you both for joining me. I don't think I've got time for you both to say a thank you as well there. So perfect. And as ever, everyone, we'll see you on the next one.